All right, what today is it's a combination of everything that you've done so far. What we're going to add to this stuff is we're actually going to solve. These things are going to get complicated in a hurry. You're going to have one problem that might take up half of your page or your full page, just depending on how big you write. You know everything that you need to know to do these problems, but now all of a sudden, we're going to put a variable in it, we're going to have fractions in it, you're going to have to find a common denominator, you're going to have to do cross multiplication. Every one is different, and I think that's what students don't like, is because I can't sit there and go, step 1 do this, step 2 do this, step 3. You got to look at the problem, okay? That being said, there's several different ways you can do this problem. You guys might choose to do ways different than each other, but still get the right answer in the end. So for instance, look at this. Okay, these are going to say solve, which means I want the x by itself. I want to know what the x is equal to. Well, I've got some problems going on here because I've got a fraction over here that doesn't have a common denominator. People disagree on how to do this. Sometimes people will go, you know, it's easier just to take a common denominator all the way through, okay, and get the common denominator on both sides. The other way you can do it is to make sure you've eliminated it down to one fraction on each side, and then you cross product. That's another way to do it. I'm going to show you, I think I'm going to show you doing a common denominator all the way through and show you how easy it is to do it that way, and then I'll show you the other way. And you can choose which way you do it. All right, if I was going to look across the board as far as a common denominator on both sides, any idea what it would be? This has an x minus 3 and this has a 6. This has a 3, I mean the x minus 2. This has a 3 and an x minus 2. Is there any way, like over here, that's easy to see, right? Isn't that my common denominator over there? So is there any way to make this into that? Multiply by 2. So what I'm going to do is the top and bottom here, I have to multiply by 2. Over here, this is missing an x minus 2, and this is missing a 6, correct? All right, so coming over here, I have 2x plus 2 over 6 times x minus 2. Here, I have a 5x squared minus a 10x plus 6. Agreed? You with me? All right, now look what I'm going to do. I'm going, you know what? I'm going to get that off the bottom. So I'm going to multiply this by a 6 times x minus 2. What I do to one side, I have to do to the other side. Right? That's how you solve these things. That's how you get by with it. Well, if I am multiplying and dividing by the same thing, what happens to it?
Goes away.
Goes away. It's equal to 1. So that and that go away. That and that go away. Leaving me with just 2x plus 2 equals 5x squared minus 10x plus 6. Well, now I've got to bring everything over to one side because I've got an x squared. So when I do that, I'm going to have 0 is equal to 5x squared minus 12x plus 4. What do you think I'm going to do now?
Move the 4 over.
Okay, well, I've subtracted here. I've got everything over here.
Factor.
I'm going to have to factor it. Okay, I'm going to have to factor it. So I've got a 5x and an x. That's the only choice I have for the first spot. What choices do I have for the second spot?
3 and 4.
I can do a 4 and a 1, or a 2 and a 2. Now I'm looking, I could, by process of elimination, I know I'm going to have a 2 and a 2. Because that's going to give me a 10x and that's going to give me a 2x. and if they're both negative, I get a 12x. So I put the negative in there, but then don't forget to check last to make sure I haven't thrown off my signs. So negative 2 times negative 2 is a positive 4, right? So that one works. Now what do you think I'm going to do? I'm going to solve it. So I set them both equal to 0. If that parenthesis is equal to 0, the whole thing is equal to 0. If this parenthesis is equal to 0, the whole thing is equal to 0. So I want to know what's going to make that parenthesis equal to 0. So I set it equal to 0 and figure it out. So that's going to be 5x is equal to 2. X is going to equal 2/5. That one, x minus 2 equals 0. X equals 2. Okay, so I've got two possibilities here. What I want to do is I want to plug those back up and make sure it doesn't make it undefined. Undefined is when I have 0 on the bottom of a fraction. And I can't have 0 on the bottom of a fraction. That's undefined. It can't be done. Look what happens when I plug 2 back in there. 2 minus 2 is 0, which would then turn around and put a 0 on the bottom of a fraction. That one doesn't work. So I know that the only answer I have is 2/5. Now I can plug that back in, but I guarantee you it does work. Okay? Yes, no, maybe?
We have time for both work?
Do what? So, yes. You will also have times where neither one of them will work. Okay, so you always have to plug it back in. All right. That way, you understand? Let me show you the other way. Okay? Same problem, just done two different ways. Okay, the only thing I'm going to change here is I'm just going to find a common denominator on the right-hand side. This left side is going to stay the same. In fact, what I probably will do is go ahead and do distributive property there just to compact it in there. So I have 3x minus 6. Over here, I'm still going to find the common denominator because I've got to combine those. So on the bottom, I'm going to have 6x minus 12 if I multiply those two things together. Okay? Going to turn around. This is going to be 5x squared minus 10x plus 6. Okay, you with me? Now, what I would have to do is multiply those two things together and then turn around and multiply those two things together. Okay, so that gets rid of the fact that they're fractions. Now, if you'll notice, it's a little bit more complicated math. That's why I like to do it the other way. So I'm going to do FOIL on these two, which is going to give me 6x squared minus 12x plus 6x minus 12. That's what I get when I multiply those two things together. Okay? On the other side, I'm going to have to do distributive property because one of them is a binomial, the other one is a trinomial. So on the other side, I have 15x cubed, maybe? That doesn't seem like that would be right. Okay, we'll continue here. Minus 30x squared plus 18x minus 30x squared plus 60x minus 36. You with me so far? Okay. So then I'm going to have to combine my like terms and bring everything to one side. So here I've got 6x squared minus 6x minus 12. Here I've got 15x cubed minus 60x squared plus 78x minus 36. You with me so far? Okay, now I can tell by the look on your face that you would prefer to do it the other way. Okay, then I have to bring everything to one side. Now, and I'm gonna continue the problem out, okay? And I hope that I didn't make a careless mistake in it because then we're gonna be messed up and have to go back and do it again. But I've got that 15x cubed right there. I'm gonna bring over the 6, so that's gonna give me a negative 66 x squared. I'm gonna bring over this 6x here, which is gonna give me an 84x. And then I'm gonna bring over the 12, which is gonna give me a 24. So far, so good? Is there anything I can factor out of these things that they all have in common? And I got a 0 right here.
3?
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say, they all have a 3. So I can pull out a 3, so that's gonna be a 5x squared minus a 22x, plus, let's see, 84 divided by 3, it's gonna be 28, and that's gonna give me an 8 right there. Okay, so far so good?
Shouldn't a 22 be x squared?
It should be. This should be cubed, right? And this should be x squared. Okay, so far I've got that. Then I would divide both sides, and then I'm gonna look at that and go, that's a bit of a problem, because I am going to then have a 5x cubed minus a 22x squared plus 28x plus 8. And I'm going to have to then do grouping. Okay? Factor out and solve. Which way would you rather do it?
First one.
The first way. Okay, so I've made my point. Okay, you eventually get there on this, but it gets so much more complicated that I think you are better off finding a common denominator all the way across. Okay, now you can do it the other way, but the mistake value is, they're so easy to make a mistake. All right, we're going to do another one, all right? So let's look at this one. R plus 2 over 2r plus 1 is equal to r over 3 plus 3 over 4r plus 2. All right, anything we can do here before we start? Anything be able to be factored? Look at the end.
The 2.
I can pull the 2 out here. Okay, that's the one thing I can do. Nothing else, okay? I've got a r plus 2 over a 2r plus 1 equals an r plus 3 plus a 3 over a 2 times r plus 1, right? All right, now if we want to make a common denominator out of this thing, it's gonna get a little bit more complicated. Let's look at the right-hand side. What would be the common denominator on the right-hand side?
Your 2 on.
In the parentheses.
Oh, yeah, right here. There you go. Okay, so what would be the common denominator over there?
6 times 2r.
There you go. Okay, 6 times 2r plus 1. All right? Let's make this one 6 times 2r plus 1. Okay, because I'm pretty sure we can do that, can we not? All right. All right, what am I going to have to multiply that by?
3.
3 and 2r plus 1, right? Isn't that missing the 2r plus 1? What am I going to have to multiply that one by? That's actually 2. What would I multiply that one by?
3.
3, okay? But I've already got the 2r plus 1, okay? So when I do this side, that's like multiplying by 4r plus 2. So that's going to be 4r squared plus 2r, right? If you multiply that all out. Okay, over here, I get a 9. What am I missing here?
6.
Okay, so I have to multiply the top and the bottom by 6. So that's 6r plus 12. Okay. Now, notice, I have the same thing on the bottom. So what can I do to get rid of it?
Multiply.
Multiply it. Because what you do to one side, you have to do to the other side. When I do it to both sides, all of that goes away. So much simpler to do it this way. So then what I have is what's written in red right there. So I'm going to take all of that to one side. So I'm going to have 0 is equal to 4r squared. Now you're always going to take it to the side that leaves your squared variable positive. Okay, so that's why I'm taking everything to the right side. So I'm going to subtract the 6r, so that's going to give me a negative 4r. And I'm going to subtract the 12, which is going to give me a negative 3. Okay, now I'm going to try and factor that. So I've got some choices here for the first one. I don't have any choice for the second one. So I'm going to go ahead and put the 3 and the 1 in there. Then I'm going to factor here and go, I could put a 2r and a 2r, which is going to give me a 6r and a 2r, which can get me that 4r. So I want the 6 to be negative and the 2r to be positive. Always take the time to do FOIL to make sure that you did it correctly. If you don't factor it correctly, there's no way to get the right answer. So now I set both of those equal to 0. 2r minus 3 equals 0. And 2r plus 1 equals 0. So r is going to equal 3 over 2. R is going to equal negative 1/2. Now, if I'm looking at that, do either one of those not work? If I plug those back in, do either one of them not work? Yeah. Because if I plug in that negative 1/2 right there, 2 times negative 1/2 is negative 1. Negative 1 plus positive 1 is 0. Okay? So that one goes away. This one, if I plug in, I get 3 plus 1, which is 4, which works on both of them. Okay? So my answer here is this. The only way that it's not going to work, guys, is if it makes it undefined. Okay? So that's what you're looking for, is does it make it undefined. Okay? You're not actually looking, does it actually solve out. Okay? Yes, no, maybe? All right, I'm going to give you one to try. Okay? All right, solve that one.